Will Jim Harbaugh lead the Chargers to the playoffs? All he does is win, right? Well, apparently he's going to run a lot in Los Angeles. We'll discuss that and more with a buy or sell edition of Locked On NFL.
You are Locked On NFL, your daily NFL podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi again, everyone, and welcome into another edition of Locked On NFL. He is Chris Carter. I am James Rapien, and we are playing buy or sell on today's show. We'll get to plenty of topics coming up in just a second, but today's show brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code Locked On NFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. And it is also buy or sell time here on Locked On NFL. And Chris, there's two narratives around the Chargers right now that are being discussed, I think, a lot. Whether it's nationally, certainly the Chargers beat and Locked On Chargers have hit on these topics. First one, Jim Harbaugh. He wins everywhere. He won with the 49ers, obviously won way back in the day with Stanford, and is coming off of a national championship with Michigan, turned Michigan around. And now the Chargers expecting the same. And so the narrative is that Harbaugh is going to come in and win. Another narrative around the Chargers is that Justin Herbert's arm is going to be retired because all Harbaugh wants to do is run it. Are you buying those narratives? Are you selling them? How do you feel about the Chargers?
I am selling that Jim Harbaugh will just run the football. I think he will play to the strength of his team. And you look at the way the team's assembled right now, I think the big problem with Justin Herbert is he doesn't have an established superstar wide receiver. You know, they've got young guys they're hoping can develop in Ladd McConkey. Quentin Johnson has just been, drop city so far. They went and got DJ Chark. They got Will Dissly at tight end, Hayden Hurst. But, no one's really separating there as far as expectations go. And so then you turn to your offensive line and you see two of the biggest investments in the last few years in Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt at tackle right there. So I look at that and I think maybe he's thinking not lean into the run a whole lot, but balance this offense a bit more so that Justin Herbert doesn't have to just chuck the ball around all day, every day. So I'm not somebody he's going to over buy into the run, but I do buy into that this team is going to be better this year with a good. I've said for years I didn't think Brandon Staley was that good of a coach. I thought he was holding this roster back. I think this roster still has a lot of talent on it, whether it's Derwin James, whether it's Joey Bosa, whether it's Khalil Mack or Asante Samuel Jr. and top of Justin Herbert and those guys. They need to put things together? Absolutely. But I think the Chargers can be a real threat. So I'll buy them being a real threat this year. Jim Harbaugh only goes where he's going to find success. And he when he smells it's got to be a problem, he dips out. We saw that with San Francisco, and we saw that with Stanford. We see that with Michigan now, and he gets out after the national championship. So I look at that, and I think he knows what he's doing. The Chargers are going to be a competitive team this year. What say you?
I agree. I actually think the Chargers could be really darn good, and part of it is just straight coaching. You see it every year. There's a first-year coach, and obviously he's as experienced as any first-year coach is going to be. But the first-year coach leap. And so elite quarterback, and I do think Justin Herbert is elite. Now, or top 8 or whatever you want to say. He's a really good player. And so you combine that with a coach who's been there, done that. And yeah, will they run it some weeks? I'm sure. I also think that they're going to throw it when they need to. And that's where I kind of dismiss this idea that they're just going to be this defense, run game, punt the ball, first to 17 wins. That's not today's NFL. So that's just, and you have Justin Herbert. It's not like you have a quarterback that you have to do that with. So I buy the Chargers from a playoff standpoint. I think they're going to be right there in the thick of it, not winning the AFC West, but certainly in the AFC playoff mix. I'll sell the idea that this is going to be 3.5 yards and a cloud of dust. And the first one, like I said, to 17, we'll even go 15. wins. Like I just don't think that that's logical, and I think Jim is smart enough to know that. So I like the Chargers overall. I will buy them as a team, selling the idea that their receivers aren't going to get work just because Keenan Allen isn't in town, just because Mike Williams, who knows what he would have been if he stayed in town. I get they moved on from those guys. I still think they're going to throw the ball.
I think so too. You got to, when Justin Herbert's your quarterback, even with the wide receiver situation they have, they'll find a way to make it work. I think that they'll be forging that path. I think he'll take some time to come together, but I think he'll bring them together because he's done that in several places he's gone now.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. And I think when you look across the AFC, it just makes it that much more challenging, I would say, whether it's the Chiefs trying to three-peat, and maybe that's the next one. We didn't discuss this one, but I'll say, do it, buy or sell. The Chiefs can three-peat and be the first team to do it.
I can buy that they can. I wouldn't buy that they will. I think that the Chiefs are still a well-run organization. They're still a team that has, the key pieces in place, namely Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and a lot of that defense. But I also think that you only stay on top of the NFL for so long. I think there's a lot of teams that have been gunning for them. They had, and like every championship run comes with its own bounces that go your way. And like, something I wonder when people talk about things so definitively, the Ravens, they can't win any playoff games, and the Chargers the Chiefs, they're just unstoppable. If Zay Flowers doesn't fumble at the goal line, are we talking like that? Are the Ravens the one that was in the Super Bowl this year? Like this, that's how small of a margin of victory it can be sometimes. So I'm buying that they can because they have the talent. I'm not buying that they will, though, because I'm going to sell that because I do think, teams like the Ravens, teams like the Bills, teams like the Bengals, teams like, I even say the Texans with the way that they came on last year. I think that the AFC is loaded with a lot of really good teams that can knock off Kansas City at some point. And that's where I think that there could be some damage here. So I'm selling that they will do it. But if you ask me, do they have the potential to do it? Absolutely. They have that team is still locked and loaded, ready to go.
Yeah, I think you phrased it the right way. I tried to get you, and you said I'm not getting got, and it makes a ton of sense because that's like, would it shock me if they won? No, we've seen it. Been there, done that. And can you imagine a scenario where they find the next Tyreek Hill? Because that's what they're thinking. That's what they're hoping with Xavier Worthy. That's what they're hoping. And if he is that dude, and I don't mean Tyreek Hill seriously, but like a dude that can take the top off. You still have Travis Kelce. Really like Isaiah Pacheco. Rashee Rice, say what you want about however long he's going to miss, but when he's out there, he can play. He's a good player. You could see the path. They bring back Juju Smith-Schuster, who's an upgrade from a Sky Moore, right? I think he can give them a little bit more than that, even if he is close to done with that knee issue. Like, I like what they've done, and so there's reason to believe it. And I do think that the Chiefs should be the favorites again, and rightfully so. And obviously that begins and ends with Patrick Mahomes. Absolutely.
As long as he's there, they're going to be favorites to win it all until someone else dethrones them. But who else could dethrone them? And who are some of these other quarterbacks out here, James? That's a big part of what we're going to be talking about next in the buy or sell, because I think there's still a lot of young quarterbacks that are saying, hey, it's my turn to get a chance to be on top.
Yeah, I can't wait. Let's get into it. We have a ton to get to with buy or sell, and we will do that coming up next. Today's show is brought to you by Game Time. Game Time is the app you need right now because, well, there's plenty of live events going on as summer wraps up, as the NFL season kicks off. I'm going to a Thomas Rhett concert later this week. And whether it's a concert like that, whether it's baseball, which playoff baseball is right around the corner, or the NFL, all of those live events that you're trying to go to, and maybe they might be last minute. Well, Game Time is the app you need to download right now. Keep it on your phone because any event that you're looking to go to, Game Time is going to have tickets for it. And they have filters with Game Time picks that takes away all the fluff to show you incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Game Time also has all-in pricing, so you can see the exact total upfront with no surprise fees at checkout, and the seat views are amazing. A panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. All you have to do is download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNFL. That's LOCKEDON NFL for $20 off. Download a Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time.
All right, James, let's keep the topics rolling here on buy or sell. I want to look at some of these other quarterbacks out here. I want to ask you, in the NFC North, where the Detroit Lions of all franchises reign supreme at this point in time, buy or sell that this is the year that Jordan Love takes over and returns the Packers to their glory to win the NFC North?
Buy.
Whoa.
I like a lot about this Packers team. I think Jordan Love took a step at the end of last year, and I like all of the weapons. And so I look at Goff and I look at the Lions, and man, you look at that roster and I feel really darn good. And maybe they make a Super Bowl run, by the way. But I also think that the Packers are ascending. And by the end of this season, who do you think is going to be the better quarterback, Jordan Love or Jared Goff?
Jordan Love.
Well, what is it? It's a quarterback league, baby. There's a reason why we're buying the Chargers, at least to a degree. Mm-hmm. It's because they have Justin Herbert at quarterback. As much as Harbaugh matters, if they had Gardner Minshew at quarterback, I don't think we would be buying the 3.5 yards in a cloud of dust and all of those things, right? Like, so to me, when I look at this NFC North, do the Lions have the better roster? Sure, no doubt. And that superstar talent, that proven talent, love it. But the Packers have a really darn good roster, and the guy at quarterback that has the higher ceiling, that to me has already had, like last year, had the higher highs. Now, is Jared Goff going to be calm, cool, collected, be good most weeks, has the pieces around him? Like, I love Jahmyr Gibbs. I obviously think that Amon-Ra St. Brown is one of the best receivers in the league. And then who knows, maybe Jamison Williams. Maybe it's Jamison Williams season. You never know. Like, that would be the wild card, I think, in Detroit, for them to take a big step forward. And I know they were great on offense already, but no, I'm going to buy it. I think that Jordan Love and the Packers, they take their rightful spot in the NFC North. And I'm sure that there are Bears fans right now that are clenching their fists as well.
They're like, God, dang, we just got Caleb Williams. Give us some love here, guys. Sorry, Bears still got a long way to go in my eyes to get up in this conversation. But to your point about Jordan Love, I buy that they're going to be in the conversation. I'm not sure if I buy that they win just yet, because I look at them and I think that they'll be right in the mix. It could be a coin flip, but I'm not just handing it over to them. I think the Detroit Lions still got something to say about that. I also look at how their season went last year, and the Packers, remember, they stumbled out of the gate. I mean, they were flat on their face. A lot of people were laughing, talking about like this team's done. Jordan Love ain't it. They started out 2-5, and then they finished 6-2 in their last 8 games. And there were some impressive wins in those last 8 games, including on the road against the Lions, at home against the Chiefs. Yes, they did lose to the Giants and Buccaneers, but they were able to win those games. And they did finish against the kind of easier schedule with the Panthers, the Josh Dobbs Vikings, and the Chicago Bears. But this is still an offense that I think is going to take off this year. This is still a team that still has plenty of talent on it. I think that they'll be in the mix, but I am not sold on them necessarily winning the division. I still think the Lions got that roster that are going to be a problem. One thing's for sure, that it's going to be appointment television when those two teams face off against each other twice this season. Certainly going to be a big thing there. All right, next topic. Marvin Harrison Jr. Is he the next great receiver in the NFL? Seems, James, like we could ask that every single year about somebody that comes into the NFL as a wide receiver. The wide receiver position is just constantly producing more talent. Is Marvin Harrison Jr. that guy? Buy or sell?
Buy. Why wouldn't you?
Why wouldn't you? I feel you.
Kyler Murray has all the physical traits you're looking for except height. Okay, well, he can throw it, right? Like he might be my height or a little shorter, but he can throw that ball all over the dang field. And Marvin Harrison's going to go get it. And for me, he reminds me, and it's just eerily similar. You don't hear from him. Like, you see Marvin Harrison Jr. on social media? I'm sure he has it. I don't see him. I don't notice him. He's AJ Green-like, just silent, just very quiet.
You want that, especially from your wide receivers.
Kind of built the same, a little thicker. Like, and I don't know if he's as strong. AJ Green was a freak strength-wise. But the point is, that's what I expect from him. So 1,000 yards, easy this year. Number one receiver, easy this year. A guy, hopefully my league mates are ignoring this part, but any fantasy league I'm in, targeting him because I think he's going to get targeted on the field a ton this year. And I think he's the most surefire bet for the next great receiver. And I look at what these receivers are getting paid. Like on our last show, they were talking about, obviously, the CD Lamb deal, Jamar Chase, Brandon Ayuk. Can you imagine what Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to get paid when he's awesome? You're talking about $50+ million per year. He might be the first one. That might be the guy that hits the $50+ million. That's how bullish I am on Marvin Harrison Jr. 3 years from now, that's what he could be making. He is a stud, and I think he's going to hit the ground running right away. I would say 80 catches, 12 to 1,300 yards, and he might have double-digit touchdowns. Like, that's kind of what I'm expecting from Marvin Harrison Jr.
I buy that he's going to be a great wide receiver. But here's the thing, like, who's the number one? Is he going to be the future number one, or is someone else going to hold that title? Because I think in recent years, we started to see more first round picks, be that guy, and the guys that were picked at the top of their draft. But like Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, they're in those conversations. But in recent years, we've seen the best receiver be guys like Devontae Adams, who were taken in the second round, or we go further back to Antonio Brown taken in the sixth round. And one thing I've noticed about the wide receiver position, James, people say that running back is the devalued position in the NFL, and not that wide receivers devalued, but I think that the amount of great talent that comes in the draft is so frequent now that it's made the market tough on second and third tier wide receivers that are just trying to get paid, decent contracts in the NFL, because they're like, why do we need to pay you that bunch of money when we can go draft somebody else and just get that kind of talent again and take a good shot at that? And I think that's kind of where people are right now. So I think Marvin Harrison Jr., though, I think he'll be in that elite conversation, which is why I think he will be a great wide receiver. But as far as, do I think that he'll eventually be the best wide receiver in the NFL? I don't know about that, because I think there's a lot of really talented receivers, and every year we learn about some more really talented receivers that are coming on through. So do I love the prospect of him? Absolutely. Do I think that he'll be the best? There's way too much. I'll take the field just of the sheer odds that that there's someone else that's gonna blow it up.
All right, let's stick to the draft class real quick. Would you take Neighbors over him?
Oh no, he's still a number one of this class. Like if I was to pick of the rookies this year, but like would I say that about next year? Would I say that about the 2023 draft? I'm not sure if I would rank him there. Like if I was to put him where I think that he'll finish right now among the NFL receivers, I think he can finish in the top 10, but he has a lot of competition. I mean, everyone's talking about how great Brandon Ayuk is and why everyone has to trade for Brandon Ayuk. Brandon Ayuk ain't even a top 5 receiver. Like he's like in the bottom of the top 10 in my opinion. So like where does Marvin Harrison Jr. fit in that? Does he get it? Does he crack the top 5 right away, or does he work his way up?
Take coming. I would take Marvin Harrison Jr. right now over Brandon Ayuk.
Oh, absolutely. Take the rookie on a rookie deal?
No.
Oh.
Same contract. Whatever the contract is. You want to put Ayuk on the rookie deal, or you want to put Marvin Harrison Jr. on the Ayuk deal that he's looking for? Whatever. I would take Marvin Harrison Jr.
I would need to see
him. Crazy.
I would need to see him in the NFL. I think he'll be great in the NFL. But if I as a GM, if you telling me I got to pay this dude $30 million right now without seeing him take a snap in the NFL, that'd be a little tough.
I think Marvin Harrison Jr. part of it is the contract, but has way more trade value than
Oh
Brandon
no,
Ayuk.
okay, I hear you on that. Yeah,
So like even if all things were equal, like I just think younger, higher ceiling, all of the above. But I think we both agree he should be great. Expectations high. Will he be the best receiver in the league? TBD on that. That's a high bar. Could he end up being the best receiver in his family? That's an even higher bar. You never know when it comes to that. But let's continue because we have more buy or sell coming up next. All right, Chris, let's continue with a buy or sell here. It's a pre-regular season edition, all of these narratives that we've discussed. And we discussed Marvin Harrison Jr. I would you consider him, looking at FanDuel, he's not the favorite for offensive rookie of the year. Who would you buy as offensive rookie of the year going into this year?
I think Jaden Daniels has a good lead on that just because of his situation with the Commanders. They have a lot they have a lot of room to make up in the NFC East. So I'm gonna look at Jaden Daniels' situation and I'm gonna think, I'm gonna look. I just quarterbacks often win that job. I wouldn't be surprised if a quarterback didn't win the job, but I usually lean if I'm looking at the odds and I'm looking at how things shake out. I kind of want to take the quarterbacks there at Jaden Daniels. What say you though?
Caleb Williams plus 120 is the favorite according to FanDuel.
See, I just don't know, man. The Bears mess it up all the time at quarterback.
Jaden
Granted, the
Daniels
Commanders don't have a great record either. There,
Jaden Daniels
I feel
plus
weird.
600.
That's why I like the
value
odds,
there
man.
if you want it.
That's
Marvin Harrison Jr. right behind him plus 650. Bo Nix plus 1100. Drake May plus 1400. Malik Neighbors plus 1500. And then you're getting into Xavier Worthy, Keon Coleman, guys like that. But to me, like Daniels at plus 600, Bo Nix at plus 1100 is kind of juicy. I got to tell you. Like, what if the Broncos, he's probably going to put up decent numbers this year. Yeah, what if the Broncos win 10 games and he puts up numbers?
You'd be on the positive side of it.
Plus 1100. Yeah, you would be on the positive side. That is fair to say. I do think Jaden Daniels, honestly, Jaden Daniels and Marvin Harrison Jr. would be the two. You just don't get great money for Caleb Williams right now, but Daniels and Harrison, both guys could translate.
I hear you there. I think that's certainly a big question. I want to split back to some division talk real quick. We talked about Jordan Love. I want to talk about another young quarterback, CJ Stroud. Buy or sell, CJ Stroud still leading the Texans to winning the AFC South because that's a division now with a lot of young quarterbacks. Anthony Richardson. You got Will Levis. You got Trevor Lawrence. I still say CJ Stroud's the best of those four quarterbacks. But do you buy them just winning the AFC South outright?
I buy it, but I think it's close, and I'm certainly not handing them the division. I think the Colts could win that division. I think people are just kind of sleeping on Jacksonville now and just dismissing them. And I'm not there yet. I'm not ready to dismiss the Jaguars. The Titans are sneaky. They could be the team that, they upset the Texans, and now the Colts are tied for the division lead with a couple of weeks left. Like, I could totally see that. And I don't know what the schedule's like. I would need to look to see when they play. So that example might not actually apply. Disclaimer. But the point is like you have a sneaky team in the Titans who, if Will Levis is good, they should be pretty decent. And that's a big if, but who knows? I think the Colts are going to be very competitive. I believe in Shane Steichen, and I like Anthony Richardson. And to me, the weapons around him, pretty darn solid. They really are. And the Josh Downs kid's coming back. I think he's going to be all right health-wise. And then Adonai Mitchell and Michael Pittman Jr. That's a heck of a trio with Jonathan Taylor in the backfield. So I like it. I think Texans, but if you're looking at favorites and odds and things, I would like the Colts and the value that comes with them. So I'll buy the Texans win the division, but I certainly think it's going to be competitive.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a little bit tighter than it was last year, particularly because Anthony Richardson will be healthy. The Colts were pretty competitive last year in the first place. even without Anthony Richardson. I think that he's going to add, a level of I think he's going to be a nice boost to what they're looking for there. But yeah, sir. I mean, the Texans. Another thing to remind ourselves: the Texans were 10-7 last year. They weren't a 12-win team that ran away with the division. They barely eked out both the Jaguars and the Colts. I'm a little skeptical on the Jaguars because of how they fell apart last year. There was a part last season where they kind of like the Packers. We talk about the Packers. The Jaguars started out on fire and then completely fell apart late in the season. That makes me a little worrisome about what the direction they're headed. The Colts, we're obviously dealing with a lot going into the rest of the season. So I give them a pass, but I'll say I'll buy the Texans winning. But like you, I think this is a little bit closer because even though there's a lot of excitement for CJ Stroud, I still think there's a lot of this Texans roster that still has to mature and grow into itself around him. So I think it's going to be a tight race, but the Texans end up on top.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I do. And we'll see from a Texans standpoint. It's different when there's pressure on you. They were like the fun up-and-comer last year. And honestly, the Titans kind of remind me that way of the Texans, like the moves they've made. Like they've added quality pieces. They've added L'Jarius Sneed. They go out and they get Calvin Ridley. They spend big money in free agency. They go get Tony Pollard as well. They get a starting center. Like they've added a bunch of pieces. And the Texans did that last offseason. And people are like, Dalton Schultz and Sheldon Rankins, and they're all right. Well, you look up and they weren't just all right. They were a playoff team and they got hot at the right time. And so is the next year's Texans? I'm not saying it's going to be the Titans, but I do think that they could be kind of sneaky, especially when it comes to that first year coach syndrome. One thing I think looking at the NFC South that everyone just kind of assumes now, especially with their recent additions on defense, the Atlanta Falcons, not only favorites, but people, I think some at least expect them to coast in that division and win the division. You buying the Falcons in the NFC South?
I'm sorry. I got to see Kirk Cousins in this team. So again, I think the Buccaneers came on strong last year. Baker looked like he was fitting in really well. They still got Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, which make his life really, really easy. Or not easy, but makes life simpler at the quarterback position there. I think the NFC South, if we're looking at all the divisions, is still a division that's on the bottom of the NFC in general. I think the Falcons could jump in there and do really well, but I wouldn't be shocked if it's another season where the winner of this division is 9-8 and there's two teams or even three teams hovering around there. Do the Atlanta Falcons have a shot? Absolutely. I think that they've assembled some talent. They got a new coach. They'll be figuring some things out there. But I also look at the Saints and the Buccaneers and think, you know what? I think they're in the same exact spot. Whereas they have strengths to their team that could beat out against the Falcons. So I'm gonna say I'll buy it. They could, but I think it's going to be just a giant mess in the NFC South when we get to December and asking who's going to make the playoffs from that division.
Yeah, I agree. I think they could, but I'm not buying them enough. Even though they add Justin Simmons, even though they trade for Matt Judon, and I think Simmons and Bates together, it's just going to be nasty in that safety, in that secondary room. I like Kyle Pitts and think it's going to work. Like I like all these things. They have depth at quarterback behind an old quarterback and Kirk Cousins coming off of an injury with a guy in Michael Penix. Like they're set up for a decent amount of success, and yet I'm still here saying, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. We'll see. And it's really no knock on the Falcons. It's just those other teams are talented in the division. I think the Saints, they try to be competitive every year. They've added pieces. That's a tough place to play. And you mentioned it with the Buccaneers and what they were able to do last year. So that being said, I do think Carolina is clearly the fourth best team.
Yes. Yeah.
And they're literally looking up at the competition right now, and we'll see if they can be competitive. That would be fun if the Panthers were one of those surprise teams that were a bit more competitive than we expect.
My last buy or sell for you here, James. Does the streak of not having back-to-back division winners for the NFC East, which dates back to 2004 was the last time they had a back-to-back winner.
Wow.
That was when the Eagles won the division 4 years in a row. But since then, there has been a division winner, different division winner every single year, whether it's the Giants, the Eagles, the Cowboys, or Washington. Looking at that this year, the Dallas Cowboys were division winners. Do they repeat, or does the streak continue? Buy or sell? Well, so I guess buy or sell on the streak continuing.
I will sell the streak
Ooh.
because, well, there's a couple reasons. One, if Jaden Daniels is offensive rookie of the year, are we sure the Commanders aren't in that mix? Two, I think the Eagles have enough talent that they're going to be in the mix. Three, the Cowboys are so worried about running back that on Tuesday they're working out Dalvin Cook. And so when you tie all that together, and I get they got the CD Lamb deal done, Dak Prescott still needs to get paid. Micah Parsons still needs to get paid. It's Jerry Jones. It's a lot of distractions. You have a coach going into essentially a prove it lame duck season with Mike McCarthy. It just feels like it could explode. And you could make that case for the Eagles as well. But I just think one of these other teams is going to emerge. Maybe it is the Commanders. I don't really buy the Giants, but I think that it'll be the Commanders or the Eagles to win that division.
I'm going to buy that the streak continues. I sell on the Cowboys like you. I think that the Cowboys don't win it back to back.
Buy that it continues. I think I said sell, but I meant
it. But we know what you
I was
meant.
selling the Cowboys. Yeah.
I'm selling the Cowboys too. I think that I just look at this division. It's way too competitive. It's like a curse that if you win the division one year, you definitely ain't winning it the next year. I think the Eagles are coming on strong, like you said. I think Washington can be. And I just think that the Cowboys got a lot of holes on their roster, and I think they're going to have to pay the piper soon with some of the problems that they have not addressed. Even though they just signed CeeDee Lamb to this huge mega deal, I think it was good for them to keep him, but I think they still got a lot of other problems. So sell me on, or no, buy me into the streak continuing. The NFC East will have another new champion in 2024.
Yeah, I won't say I hope so, but I hope it's a competitive division, and I want to see it go down to the wire. I want to see some drama and some competitiveness. Hopefully we get that. We are almost there, Chris. The regular season is almost there. Please make sure you hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Follow wherever you get your podcasts. And for Chris Carter, I'm James Rapien. Thank you so much for listening and watching Locked On NFL.